Okay. Good morning, guys. How are we doing, traders? Hope we're all well. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Excuse me. Let me just put my heater on. To be honest, I'm getting a bit cool. That should help. All right. Welcome to TradeSetup. G'day, Peter. Welcome to TradeSetup. And it's morning playbook for the 29th of July. So there's a couple of things I want to run through. We'll start off with, we'll start off with just the indices and what we're looking at for the day. So the day's action, intraday action anyway. So we'll start off with Nikkei. This, to me, I'm looking for a lower high to hold below 22,600. Okay, so there's a bit of weakness filtering through the markets. Hey, Bobby, bit of weakness filtering through the markets. You can see the sell-off in the US markets into the close. The last few hours of trade, I think they were pretty much meandering along, not doing too much, and then got hit into the close. I think people are just waiting for. We've got the Fed tonight, Fed statement tonight, and yeah, like someone said, I was reading somewhere. Hard to come out with something too positive for them. So the risk is to the downside if they don't, give the market what they're expecting. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. It's late tonight, I think. So I wouldn't expect a lot of action. At least I wouldn't expect any positive action today in our markets too much. So that's why sort of the bias is down. We've got, and you can see the gold got smacked yesterday as well. So there seems to be a bit of, just closing out, locking away some gains because, if they come out and say something brilliant, all of a sudden gold takes a nosedive because, or the US dollar takes off, which is going to trigger a sell-off into gold, then no one really wants to be left giving up a lot of gains. So I think there's a bit of profit taking coming into those numbers. We've got a lot more earnings, I think, from the big tech stocks coming to the end of the week, and then they've got to figure out their stimulus. They've got to come to some sort of agreement by the end of this month, which is a few days away. 2 days away, I guess. Friday, I think it is. Yep, 29th today, depending on what's a 30 or 31 day week, month, whatever I'm trying to say. So there's a few headwinds which, if you've been long to the hilt and you've done well, you probably think about taking some risk off the table. I mean, I would anyway, just to be on the safe side. You can always re-enter if things are good, things settle down. But to hold it through these sorts of headwinds is, it's a big call. It's more of a punt than anything else. Being an intraday trader, you don't want to be holding ever. You don't want to be trading through numbers. So you get payrolls. You never hold a position into a number. You never hold, buy or sell entering the number because you think it's going to be up or down. That's a straight out 50-50 punt. That's not trading. So I think that's a bit of a case of that coming into those, the statement tonight and earnings and things like that. So that Hang Seng, I'm sorry, this is a Nikkei looking for a bit of weakness to come into that market. As long as it holds below 2260, if it's a big flush, it might be a big flush like we saw yesterday. And we're looking at, I think it was this yesterday, big flush up to that resistance zone, which has held a few times, and it come crashing down. So maybe there's a bit of a flush and a bit of a squeeze, bring in some buyers, and then come down and hit them on the way down. The Dow, this is the level. It's only a minor level at the moment, 26,422. There would have been a few people selling off that. Expect a bit of a squeeze, but it's whether we get a squeeze higher and get some further selling coming in. I think it's going to, the Dow is going to be waiting for the Hang Seng to open 11.15. And you can see these buyers have been holding it up off this level. So if it holds this MA and we squeeze in, so the longer term MA is down, if we squeeze in there, then watch for some lower highs and some pressure on the downside. Hang Seng, good. I had a good trade on that yesterday. I just don't know where it was. But anyway, a good short. I think it netted, it was 55 and 125. 55 partial, 125. So it was a good little short. We'll look for something like that again today, and that's not the 30. That's a 30-minute chart. So again, it's this level up here, 24,746, only 100 points away, which that could do that in a blink of an eye on the Hang Seng. So whether that holds, we get a bit of a flush. We might get a good push higher. So it's got to do with the open. Do we have a big flush high and then we start to stall? Where are we going to stall? We're going to stall at this level, or are we going to just, punch through, pull back, retest it, and go all the way up to 24,963? So either way, we just want to see what happens on the open. We've got some good support that's been holding 324,550. Now, I think if we hold below this 24,746 zone, and start to come, so that's the level we sort of tag and we start to chop around it, just to try to squeeze in some buys before we turn around and sell off again, because the longer term trend is still down. Then expect a break at 24,550. It could be a good little short trade on the cards. But again, it's going to be tough coming into that zone when you're short, especially if you got a pop up and then a pullback and you got the lower high play out just mid range. You've got to be careful that we're not just going to get short into there and it's bounced quite hard. So that's a couple of things we're looking at. And the SPY is going to be open up in about 5 minutes. We just want to see how that opens. Maybe a flush lower, then retrace. I think there's going to be a bit of, especially after yesterday's move, to see if there's going to be a bit of bargain hunting to push price up at some stage during the day. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And it's just, on the open, we're going to get, I would, this price action is not suggesting too much. It could just fall apart. We could just bounce up here and then fall apart. Like I'm sort of looking at this scenario, bit of a pop up in the open, squeeze out some of these shorts. And if we start holding lower highs, there could be a move down through 59, 56 on the cards, because that's, heavy weight on the market at the moment from yesterday. So let's go over to the overall market. That's the Nasdaq. So that you can see that half an hour chart didn't open up too strong, and then sort of bounced back, retested the previous close, or closed that gap from the previous close for that little rally up in the previous close, and then sold off. So to me, this area here could be the start of a lower high. All right, so that's whether or not we could just come down and start to jam straight back up through this zone at around 10.6, 10.7. All right, so it'll be interesting to see how we play out tonight. But I think if those tech companies, I think it's Amazon, I can't remember who else is reporting, and Facebook have got their own sort of issues with Congress or something they're doing there. Not exactly up to date with that, but there could be a bit of weight coming to the market, and especially it seems that a lot of buyers are running out of, they're just getting tired, I guess you could say. We had a good markup, and especially on the Hang Seng, the Nasdaq got smashed here, come back up, lower high, got smacked down again, retested these lows, and now if we're going to start to hold this lower position, that's going to bring in a few sellers, especially if it start to break through there. All right, so that could take a bit of heat out of that move up, and we may, and it's all, if that does happen, it's all about whether it's just going to be a stock standard correction low before we move back up again, or we're going to start to see a bit of a free fall. Now Dow, not much to look at there. Some weight coming in there as well, and if that's a trend up to start to break, then we could be the first stages of a bit of a decent correction. All right, so that's only the half an hour chart. Look at the longer term. That's our trend that we've been sort of watching longer term. It seems to fit quite well. So if it starts to get a bit heavy, there could be a good move down to, was it 2,500, which would suggest 1,300 points. That could be done in the night, the way it's going, if things don't pan out too well. All right, so that's the Dow. I think, like I said, starting to show a bit of weight from the buyers, a bit of impatience, I think, just to lock away some gains, especially with all this kind of action. You got big smack down here, retest low, started to grind back up, and we're starting to get heavy again. So we've got an inside level holding the action down just here as well. So there's a few things to keep an eye on there. I mean, if we come out tonight, if we have another rough Asian session and the start of European opens up weak, then the US could just get smacked on the open. Now, our market on the ASX, so it's been grinding up, sort of been sticking within this channel up, and now we're starting to get a bit heavy too. So we'll just delete, I'll keep that in there for future reference. What I'll be looking at is to see if this level starts getting tested, or sort of this inside level, which is around, was it, say 6,000 even, 6,000 and down to 59.20. We start to break through here, there could be a good little short on our hands. We just have to see if it breaks through here and we come back and start to hold another lower high. I'd be looking for a shorting opportunity, especially if with these, you can see the MA is longer term, which is a 150, starting to flatten out a bit from where it's been. Rallying, flatten out. Now, if it doesn't rally up from here, we're probably going to have a few little issues. So that's that. Let's go over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we got pushed out of that at 10.7, which is a good little run up from 9,500. 1,200 point gain on that, or $1,200 gain on that, which is good. I didn't want to, I mean, with the way Bitcoin goes, it could really, I mean, it could start a charge. And that was a good run up. But considering what's happened, if you go and look at some of the runs, it's a good spike up. Some of the runs, I'm probably not going to see it on this. When they get going, they should really keep going. So I'm sort of, expecting we're at this first sort of bullish move, and maybe, we're going to come back down. I'd expect we've got a bit ahead of ourselves here. We have to catch up. We may back and fill. We might back down to test 10.3 or thereabouts or through, just to squeeze out some of these buys in that move. I'll get back up. Squeeze out some of those buys. That's why I'm really happy to tighten up the risk on that. And we did get stopped out, but there's nothing to say we can't get back in. If this starts to look more of a corrective price action and we correct down just to see where we correct, then we're just waiting for another entry. Simply, I think there's still a lot more to come in this Bitcoin move up. But again, it's linked to gold. If gold caves in, this will cave in as well. And gold at the moment, let's have a look at that. Gold is, yeah, look, it's starting to struggle here. I mean, you've got to remember this kind of move, this spike down, you've got this buying up here, and I was actually looking to buy it there. Lucky I didn't, because it comes coming screaming straight back down again. I mean, that could have been a little buying opportunity. It looked like it was a bit too aggressive, and it did take off and then come screaming back down. So this move down, what it's done, I mean, there's a lot of bulls out there saying, oh, it's a good flush out, or we're just going to reset, da-da-da. Fine, that could happen. But it's also going to get any cautious buyer up here thinking twice about going long, especially if they've been squeezed out. If you're buying it through here because you just want to jump on the bull run and everyone's talking 2,000, you got a lot of room to move on the upside, and then you come up and you get stopped back out. Why, you got to be tentative getting back in again. So I think that's going to just cause potentially some people to be thinking twice about diving back in here again, which may mean that we start to struggle up at these highs and we have to have some sort of longer term corrective action, because there's a massive amount of longs built up. Sorry, not shorts, massive amount of longs built up on that move up that could easily get squeezed out on a good move down. But it'd be nice, there's two things. If we come screaming down from here, then, we could have a big correction. What I'd be looking for to see if this low can hold up, if we sort of come down here and then start to do this. And what that's going to do is that's going to confirm that we are got a longer term move up, and that, you've got your corrective phase. We're holding higher lows and lower highs, ready for a squeeze, get that point of agreement and squeeze up. Well, could squeeze down, but that's what you'd be looking for if you were looking to get long. All right, last few things I want to go over is look at crude. I've got crude here. Crude oil, two things. Got this level up through here, which I'm sort of partial to, off the lows. We didn't tag down here, but that found some support in there. Touched once, twice, three times again, and then we're starting to, we're not breaking down yet. Doesn't look like we're breaking down, but we could just be finding support in here. And if you take the support across that low and that low, you've sort of got some room to move to come back into that support, back down to 40 and then rally off there. Either way, I think the market, this is the last few sessions, just drill that out. Sell-offs have been supported, sell-offs have been soaked up by buyers, and we push back up. Yesterday or overnight, it got sold off and it didn't really get soaked up. It may pop back up now, which is fine. But I would suggest this market's more of sort of a transient going sideways, waiting for, what the stimulus is going to be. I think the stimulus will come through by the end of the week. It's just what it is. They're going to cut back on those payments. I think one side's saying give them less money, some side's saying give them the same, give them more. We don't know just yet, and how that's going to affect everything, and whether that, is it going to be enough to keep the ball rolling? It's pretty much what everyone's waiting for. Kick the can down the road a bit more. So you can see the market sort of in a bit of a holding pattern. And if everything goes back, the economies are going back into lockdown as virus, the second wave is spreading, especially in Australia, and the US is big. Europe, not so bad. They're getting it a bit more contained, but can't imagine if they open up that there's not going to be any cases. It may start to spread there, take a bit more time as well. So I think the market's looking at that to see whether that's going to crimp on the growth. The Fed Reserve is not saying, well, they're basically saying we don't expect to be coming back, recovering as quick as everyone's sort of making out, as quick as probably the market is factoring in. So there could be some heat to come out of this market soon. And I think that's what crude is looking at. Demand diminishing with lockdowns, with global demand starting to ease off, not quite as high as this. Maybe we've seen the highs. We might be some more selling pressure, but at the moment it's still bulls and bears just fighting it out a bit. Not really fighting out, but a bit more uncertainty through here. It's more range bound, and it's just holding it sort of between that range of around 40 to the downside, and these highs potentially up here around 41, 42, I'd say. We'll just see how that plays out. Now copper is similar. This uptrend has been broken, but we're more holding sideways. They look like they want to hold it up off 288. But there's still, it's not going to get ahead of itself on the upside either. It's getting sold back into. So you can see this move up, good spike, straight back down again. Bit of a pop up, coming back down again. So this could hold a high low, retest back up to here, and then come straight back down again. I think to be on the bull side, to really think it's going to take off, the whole equity markets need to rally hard as well. You need a lot of things to happen, a lot more stimulus, all these sorts of things. So whether or not I'm sort of believing that this leg up has been very strong. All right, so I'm sort of more leaning to the fact that we could get any of these longs squeezed out of the market. But if you're holding long, you're happy to hold it at the moment. It's like the uptrend is broken, but it could be sideways. It could be sideways, consolidate, and then up we go. All right, so we'll keep an eye on all those. Well, that's about all I wanted to cover, guys. If you have any questions, I'll finish it up there. Any questions, send us through an email to support@tradesetup.com.au. Check out our website. And it'd be great if you can leave us a like on any of our material that comes through. And you should also be able to subscribe on the website to newsletters, which bits and pieces come out, which may not, there'll be some bits and pieces that won't be on YouTube. So feel free to subscribe there. We won't badger you too much. But yeah, it'd be great if you can. All right, guys, enjoy your day. We'll be back in tomorrow at 9:40. See you later. Bye.